Today on Locked On Rockies, the Diamondbacks continue to be really good, and the Rockies are hoping to address one of their woes with a bullpen arm. Will it work?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 31st day of May in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast and on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every single day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you are in the right spot. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Been following this team my entire life and been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for 3 seasons now. You can find all the Rockies baseball action on the Sirius XM app or on Sirius Radio. All you got to do is search Rockies or Locked On Rockies, and you'll be taken where you need to go. You can catch all of the action, including play-by-play, and you can select the Rockies feed of your choice. We are going to be talking about the Diamondbacks and their ability to beat the Rockies. And again, I don't want to like overhype them because I know that they're not officially, I don't know, actually, to be totally honest. I think it might be time to call this the D-backs breakout party. I mean, that team is playing electric good baseball, and they have some really good arms to boot. And again, shows kind of the differences. I mean, when we talked about the stat of the Rockies being the second best record, I believe the D-backs were right behind and potentially overtook the Rockies with that win over them last night, and potentially if they win tonight as well. The Diamondbacks are playing great baseball, and they have kept up with the Dodgers for the entire season. This is technically a Diamondbacks team that has put themselves in a position to compete almost through the first half of the season. For sure, through the first third of the season. Now they're pushing to making it competitive and continuing to fight, and really entering an interesting point when you get to the deadline and when you get to the middle point of the season if you're Arizona. And how Arizona is getting there is by handling teams like the Rockies. One thing that always gets in the way of a Padres run when you're looking at the division is the Rockies. Taking care of business and beating these teams like the Rockies helps you stay 32-20, or helps you get to 32-23 and being 5 games above 500 at home. Analytics on ESPN give it a 60%, nearly 60% win rate for projected win for the Diamondbacks tonight. The Diamondbacks have won all of the matchups against the Rockies except for one. And this is the first time, or last night was the first time, the D-backs have scored less than 7 runs in a win against the Rockies. This is they've only held the Diamondbacks to scoring less than 5 runs once in all 5 of the games that they have played so far this year. So the Rockies, there's still a lot of baseball left against the Diamondbacks, but this is a team that is clearly showing that they want to strut their stuff a little bit and have put together a good stretch of baseball. The Rockies are starting to move in the opposite direction as they've now lost 2 in a row. The Diamondbacks have now won 3 in a row. You look at Arizona and you just get encouraged. When you're an Arizona fan, I think you're just a little more encouraged about the state of your team right now. They stole more bases in a 2-game stretch than ever in Rockies. Again, the Rockies have given up the most stolen bases in 2 games ever. It's really something to consider. This is a D-backs team that is going that embraced being young last year embraced a lot of their young guys, and is embracing these new rules, and it's setting them up for a win. I mean, the Rockies had multiple chances to get back in that game and in early traffic against the D-backs. They've had multiple opportunities to still fight and compete against the Diamondbacks. I don't think the Diamondbacks are necessarily this great big powerhouse team that's a ton better than the Rockies if the Rockies are playing at their best. But I think their ceiling is much higher than the Colorado Rockies. I think the potential for who is going to be the next upstart, young, cool team in the NL West to watch again, it will be the Diamondbacks, because the Rockies aren't fully buying into everything, and the Rockies don't have the same caliber of pitching and young pitching that the D-backs have. So it's two teams that, and mind you, the D-backs have been much more active when it comes to trading, much more active when it comes to signing players, making moves. Those things are proving to matter. The inaction at the trade deadline for the Colorado Rockies is really starting to show its face, especially this season and in series right now and so far in 2023 against the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks moved on from their competitive playoff teams. They moved pieces. They traded things. They DFA'd Madison Bumgarner this season and ate the cost. It seems like the D-backs have been more willing to swallow the difficult pill of rebuilding and reorganizing and retooling and embracing it and facing it head on. Whereas the Rockies hint at it, do some stuff, kind of have some stuff, do some things here, do something there. That's where I just think that the D-backs have a clear and more strong and more unified vision for where their team's going to be and how that team can get back to competing for an NL West crown and for the World Series than the Rockies do. But again, the Rockies were a great team in May, and that includes a team that's won 6 of their last 8 series. You can't fully punt on everything for the Rockies, but the Rockies have been dominated by the D-backs this season. And that shows something. I think the D-backs are honestly a very good barometer and a good kind of benchmark that the Rockies should always be. I think the Rockies and the D-backs are kind of forever going to be intertwined, at least for me as an NL West guy and someone that watches a lot of that ball and watches a lot of the Rockies. If the D-backs are doing well and the Rockies aren't doing well, that means the Rockies are way far behind in the NL West. I mean, I know the Padres are struggling, but there's still enough retooling and reshuffling and willingness to do that type of stuff there in San Diego that makes me hesitant to say that. I just now feel when the Diamondbacks are a good team and are playing better ball than the Rockies, that makes me feel worse about the state of the Rockies, just because the Rockies have seemed to go back and forth with the D-backs. Yes, the D-backs have also in the past have been able to get the job done when it comes to a World Series, but the Rockies have often had to fight tooth and nail with the D-backs to get in the playoffs. They fought tooth and nail in the wild card game. There is a closer rivalry between the Rockies and the D-backs than really, and I would say also the Padres, than with the Giants and the Dodgers and in the rest of the West. I guess that's the rest of the West anyway. But anyway, so I'm not like, it's not like, whoa, I think the D-backs are like the sleeper team that's going to win the World Series. I still think there's going to be some issues with that club. I just like the fact that they're a team that has embraced where they're at right now. Whereas the Rockies have never really felt like, to me, like they've done that and want to do that. Let's dive into the live chat here. Let's also talk a little bit about Dinelson Lamet getting the start tonight. We'll also talk a little bit about Kyle Freeland coming up here, segment number 2 and 3. But before we do that, got to tell you about our title sponsor, FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the place for you when you want to get in on all the action this NBA Finals. I mean, it's the Joker. It's the Nuggets. You're going to want to be able to make a little money on the Nuggets and bet and go for that. And they give you a little extra incentive to root hard for the Denver Nuggets. And when new customers sign up right now, you can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. There's no better place to bet on all the playoff action than FanDuel.com. Don't worry, they got a safe and secure app, and you're going to get paid instantly. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. We're also on the SiriusXM app and SiriusXM radio. Just search Locked On Rockies. You'll find us. Also search Rockies. It'll take you where you need to go, and you can select the feed of your choice and tune into the play-by-play action and lots more there on the SiriusXM app. Want to shout out all my everydayers. Want to shout out to you, making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. Be part of the show by joining the live chat, just like BSBL. Here says, I have been impressed by the ABs put up by Nolan Jones. I would agree. That was a great swing last night. I think Nolan Jones is going to be, again, a guy that is you have to play him to really get an understanding and an idea of who he is and what he's capable. I mean, he's had good numbers at the minor league level already. He's been in the major leagues before. It's time to see what Nolan Jones does for the Rockies, especially because he can play all over the place. He really adds some interesting utility there for the Rockies. This is a guy that you really need to see because there isn't much more that he can do at the minor league level. Because here's the deal. This year in 150 ABs, he batted at minor league at AAA. 356 average, 41 OBP, and OPS of 1.192, 12 home runs, 42 RBI, 5 stolen bases, 53 hits, and he scored 38 times. The guy is MLB ready. And so the question now is making sure that he can get in the lineup and play every day. That is basically the situation for a lot of Rockies prospects, or getting to be. Nolan Jones might have some better stats, a little more flashy, and can do a little more things on defense that the Rockies than some of the other Rockies prospects looking to be on the club every single day and helping out. But Nolan Jones needs to stay up with the club and needs to continue being given roles to succeed, because there's some interesting stuff there. And man, that's a great swing. It was a good swing that he put on there, and hey, makes a loss sting a little less when you put at least one up on the board there as well. But Rockies looking to split the series tonight, looking to avoid the series loss, and looking to snap a 2-game losing streak here against Arizona, and they are turning to a new arm. But not really a new arm. They're turning to someone who's not usually a starter, and it's Dinelson Lamet. He's coming back from an injury and as well a time rehabbing in the minor leagues, hoping to rebound and bounce back on his season here, which has unfortunately not gone great. A 12.66 ERA in 10 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts, a whip of 2.44. He last pitched in the beginning of May against Milwaukee, where he gave up in a third of an inning, he gave up an earned run and walked 3. He has walks in each of last appearances. His strikeout to walk ratio, 13 strikeouts to 12 walks, giving up 15 earned runs on the season as well. So I want to be confident. We know I talked highly of Dinelson Lamet, but it's again, I thought it was going to be a bullpen relief role, but it's interesting. I mean, if they feel like that they can get some more length and some more time out of Dinelson Lamet, and if starting and maybe changing up the mechanics and things of that nature help Dinelson Lamet, then great. I don't think that I necessarily want to try to commit to this long term. I'm very hesitant to see how it goes. I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't know. It's just it's like one of those things where it just kind of sums up where the Rockies are at right now. on one hand, it's a veteran guy. The team sees it and believes in him and thinks that he can do it, and they want to give it a shot, and they're going there. But on the other hand, it's a guy that struggled. It's a guy that comes out of the pen, historically has come out of the pen. I'm trying to see. Let me see if I can get a quick see if he does have starting experience, but he hasn't started in a few seasons. So it's not that crazy. He started 56 games and he pitched over 100 innings for San Diego back in the day. So certainly a guy that knows how to handle being a starter. He most recently started in 2021 where he had 9 starts that year. So you kind of sit there and it makes sense. I mean, if he's healthy and if he's able to perform, that's a good thing. But then you look back and then you reflect and then you are curious and you're wondering, you're like, there's no one. I mean, some of the young guys outside of some of the terrible, Ryan Feltner's bad luck, who is now on the 60-day IL, and other young guys is bad luck as well. And Noah Davis, for another example. It's unfortunate that the Rockies can't keep really turning to young guys that they feel confident. I don't think Carl Kaufman necessarily gave you a lot to sit there and feel super confident where he's at. So if the Rockies can get veteran starting pitching from Dinelson Lamet, that fills a hole. That's a major need for the Rockies, but it needs to be quality. And I mean, it's going to be a big adjustment here. I mean, I think to get back into starting, you can't be having if he is going to start, then the strikeout walk ratio needs to drastically improve, or else the Rockies are going to be in trouble. The Rockies really, and we know how good the Rockies are and can be when they score first. The Rockies can't continuously be in trouble like they have seemed to be with some of these pitching, but it's also part of the issues with this depth here. I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can think of doing. There's only so many options you can go with, especially with the Rockies, until you kind of face a situation like this and kind of face a situation where you got to use, maybe the waivers like we've seen with Chase Anderson. The Rockies are kind of in a point where you got to do a little bit of everything. But if you're willing to do all of this, are you willing to trade for pitching? Because if you're willing to turn to all this, why not move some stuff on and get some better arms and replenish that way? The Rockies need to be willing to do that. And if Dinelson Lamet shows that he can start, then maybe that makes him maybe it fills the need for the Rockies for a starter for this year, especially given the situation they're in. But it certainly would open the door or ask the questions for later on down the line. And again, would give you another veteran to put on the trade block who could potentially go and help a team. So Dinelson Lamet as a starter could mean a lot of things, could do a lot of things for the Rockies. A lot of it hinges on his success, and Lamet has not been successful this season. This is going to be a challenge. Tonight will be an initial challenge and somewhere for Lamet to really, and the Rockies to really kind of see and understand where they're at and what they get with Dinelson Lamet. It's only one start, and it could change, but it'll be big for the Rockies if they can get a veteran guy to be able to eat some innings and go the distance. But I'm sitting here, especially coming off injury, can we really expect Lamet to go more than 5 innings tonight? Are the Rockies, and what the Rockies desperately need right now is deep starts from their starters because of the excessive and a lot of use of this bullpen. And, Freeland, for example, didn't go as far as they needed him last night. And the list can kind of go on and on. The Rockies are kind of swimming again. They're kind of a little, getting a little back into that worrisome territory. Things are, they're still sitting in a pretty good spot when it comes to record, still playing, 500 ball about, what is this? I think I'm doing my quick math here. So they're 5-5 over their last 10, playing 500 ball, but it's the climb is steep, and and if you're going to turn this thing around, if you're really confident about climbing out of the basement of the NL West, it's got to come off the, with Lamet being a decent starter and someone that can pitch and go and cover some time for some Rockies. But if he's still striking or walking batters as often as he's striking them out, it's going to be a big issue for Rockies, because we've seen how much trouble they can get into with the walks and free passes, especially against this Arizona team. You walk certain players on this Arizona team, they're going to take second base from you, and that's going to be, that's it. So, quick note too, another unfortunate, and we kind of mentioned it there, man, Kyle Freeland. I'm still a Kyle Freeland guy. Till I die, for sure. But man, the home runs given up is just so frustrating. It's just it just is a curse for Kyle there with him and just the ultimate Achilles heel. And it was put on full display yesterday there by the D-backs. Not a lot of excellence from Kyle here. Hasn't been able to go. That was his deepest start there in his last 3 games, going 5 2/3, but still giving up the 3 walks, a strikeout. It's the season high, I believe, in walks last night as well. Walk into home run. I mean, that is just such the killer combo, especially to Kyle Freeland. It is just that's the tough stuff. And hopefully we're hoping Kyle Freeland can work through this, because not only do the Rockies need Lamet, if they're going to want to turn things around, the Rockies desperately need Kyle Freeland. Kyle Freeland needs to be the leader of this rotation this year. It is going to take a lot for him. He has to be the guy that this rotation can be inspired by and led by. And I think he's capable of it. Just wasn't his sharpest stuff in that game last night. Let's take a quick look at some more live chat. We'll also get ahead on looking ahead for tonight's matchup. But first, check this out. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Sirius XM app. You can search Rockies, Locked On Rockies, taking where you need to go. Got your play-by-play action. Got everything you need on the Sirius XM app there. Folks, so the big picture, the big question, the big issue, the big topic of today was Dinelson Lamet. Veteran pitchers that are on the Rockies have to step up. And it starts tonight for Lamet. Freeland, unfortunately, wasn't able to do it last night, but there is time. And we need good Gomber for things to really get better. But Baseball Pig here in the chat says a good point here. At what point do you move on from the outfield vets? It's got to be sooner rather than later. But I don't think the Rockies will move anything soon. I think the Rockies will be more active closer to the deadline when they really can see some things. I think everything that's happened this year, I think the trajectory of, I think when you're looking at things, even as the Rockies, as stubborn as they can be, I think they will make some moves. I think they're going to have enough interesting pieces to enter into the trade market this season and be able to restock and replenish with a bunch of good to decent things, whether it be draft picks, prospects, veteran pitchers, anything to address the major issues that is the pitching staff. The offense is coming alive a little bit. And you're hoping that the offense continues to improve with some exciting young bats and exciting young prospects. So even if you do move away from the veterans that are contributing to that offense, you're hoping that the prospects are major league ready. Ooh, a little itch today. But I think that's where the Rockies hesitate. I think the Rockies really hesitate because they can look at their lineup and they can say they have a bunch of guys with histories of success with the stick. But that hesitancy isn't helping them. That hesitancy isn't getting better. And I think that mindset is starting to change a little bit. At some point, you're going to look at these monster numbers that prospects in Albuquerque are putting up, and you're really going to have, and they're going to say, I just think it'll be too hard to sit there and justify playing some of these guys when they could be playing their young guys, especially if the Rockies are looking at a division where a lot of people are fighting for spots and they're still fighting to get back to 500. To go back to our first segment as well, to talk about the D-backs' success this season. I mean, if they prove to be legit playoff good, I mean, it's not that crazy. It's not that outlandish if the Padres are able to turn things around, which you have to continue to say that they will because there's enough baseball. If they're continuing to flounder and it's really like late July, August, then we can start counting Padres out more because of their history of floundering and at the end of seasons. But it's not that crazy to envision a situation in which 3 NL West teams are making the playoffs. And the way the series, the way the season has gone against a small sample size, mind you, against the NL West, the Rockies haven't played the NL West a ton. It is setting the foundation for the fact that the Rockies should embrace moving on from veterans and replenishing and restocking and really buying in to some of these young guys. Because I think one of the prime examples that they can look at is, I mean, you heard it on if you watched on the TV broadcast, I think actually, no, if you listened to the game yesterday, I was listening to Jack and Jerry. They talk about how the game is slowing down for Ezequiel Tovar. Why? Well, it's because he's playing every day. He's one of the youngest guys in the game. We have to see what's up with these young guys. No matter what that means, if they're really, really struggling, if they, that's why you can't move on from every veteran. But you got to go and you got to see what you got, because then you can end up like the Diamondbacks and be sitting at, nearly 10 games above 500 2 months into the season. I mean, the D-backs are really shaking up the NL West, and Baseball Pig's got a good point here. Beginning of June and still haven't played the pesky Giants. Exactly. I don't care what the national narrative is about the Giants. I don't care what the Giants' record is. We all know how much the Giants handle business against the Rockies. And right now, a team that the Rockies usually kind of split or fight back and forth, which they have in this series. They've had opportunities. They really had moments where they probably could have gotten back into last night's game. And, potentially if you look at, some what ifs, potential to win those ball games, opportunities to get back into and win those ball games, both of these ball games against the D-backs. But the Giants are always going to be a hassle. The Dodgers are good again. The Padres, I don't know. You can't sit here and say, especially the Rockies. The Padres have to prove it against the Rockies, which could add into things. And again, you haven't played the Giants yet. So there's just so much to consider as the Rockies right now. It's just a hope that they actually are considering it and will take action to it. But I'm really curious. I think honestly, on a smaller scale thing, let's see what happens with Dinelson Lamet tonight. I think that'll be really interesting. If it's a solid start for him, that'll be a really nice ad for the Rockies there and help them out. But folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Also on the SiriusXM app, as well as all the game action for the Rockies first pitch available on the SiriusXM app. Just search Rockies, select your feed of choice, and you'll be good to go. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. You could be in the live chat today, just like Baseball Pig was. And when you subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube, you make me a really happy guy and you help the show grow. Go make Locked On Nuggets your second listen of the day to go get hyped up for all the NBA Finals action. Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Buffs got you covered for more Colorado sports coverage. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.